I'm not talking about eliminating anxiety. I don't want anxiety to go away. I don't want your anxiety to be completely eliminated from your life because I truly believe it can be a gift. It can be something that you can make work for you. It's something that can benefit you if you know how to make the most of it, because there's a lot of positives that go along with anxiety, along with the negatives. But the negatives really can be debilitating and create so much havoc in our lives because it's unmanaged. So the way that I describe it usually to my patients is it's like anxiety and OCD. It's like a gift, like a horse. It's like a wild stallion that has the potential to be a Kentucky Derby winner and become a Triple Crown winner if you're into horse races. But when it's not trained, it's kicking down the barn. It's hitting everybody. It's kicking everybody. It's making everybody fall off of them. Hi, I'm Dr. Nafisa Sekandari, a licensed clinical psychologist specializing in anxiety-based disorders. I created the Mental Health Break podcast to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you prioritize your mental health. Mental illness can cost you time and money. Ignoring your symptoms will only make the problems worse. Taking time out of your busy day to dedicate to improving your mental health can lead to long-term health and wellness. In this podcast, you'll learn tips, tricks, and proven strategies to help you regain control of your life, all while prioritizing your mental health. If you want to improve your life, regain control of your mental health, and feel empowered, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Today's episode is brought to you by my weekly free live virtual webinar titled 3 Steps to Calming Your Brain and Instantly Increasing Efficiency, happening every Thursday. Visit transforminganxiety.com/calm-register and save your spot today. Live Q&A to answer all of your anxiety-related questions. So go to transforminganxiety.com/calm, CALM-register, and secure your spot now. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Mental Health Break podcast. Today, I wanted to have a conversation about the role anxiety plays in our lives. What is the purpose of anxiety? Why do we have anxiety? And then for those of us who have a history of anxiety, where would we be if we didn't have anxiety? How would our lives be different? How would we show up on a regular basis? So the reason I wanted to have this discussion today is because I came across an article in Psychology Today. Psychology Today is a magazine that is available for people, and they have really great articles. And one of the articles was an interview with this man that has a history of anxiety, and that's his question. He's like, where would I have been if I didn't have anxiety? And then what are some tools that he's used? What are some ways that he's compensated or has made anxiety work for him over the years to make him be successful? And his belief, as well as my belief, is that anxiety has a purpose. And so when I talk about transforming your anxiety, I'm not talking about eliminating anxiety. I don't want anxiety to go away. I don't want your anxiety to be completely eliminated from your life because I truly believe it can be a gift. It can be something that you can make work for you. It's something that can benefit you if you know how to make the most of it, because there's a lot of positives that go along with anxiety, along with the negatives. But the negatives really can be debilitating and create so much havoc in our lives because it's unmanaged. So the way that I describe it usually to my patients is it's like anxiety and OCD. It's like a gift, like a horse. It's like a wild stallion that has the potential to be a Kentucky Derby winner and become a Triple Crown winner if you're into horse races. But when it's not trained, it's kicking down the barn. It's hitting everybody. It's kicking everybody. It's making everybody fall off of them. And it's just creating a lot of problems. So for somebody that doesn't know anything about training horses or anything about championship horses, they might think, I don't want this. I want to shoot it. I want to get rid of it. I don't want to turn it into glue or whatever people do with horses. I don't know. That's a terrible analogy. But the point is they want to get rid of this horse because they don't know what to do with it. But when you know how to train it, if you're a horse trainer and you see the potential in that horse, then you're like, okay, I can fix this. I can train this horse. this horse is going to be a Triple Crown winner. And so that's how I see anxiety. I see a lot of people struggling and a lot of people suffering because they don't know how to manage their anxiety. They don't know what to do with it. They see it as a burden. They see it as something I want to get rid of. I want to medicate myself. I want to numb myself. I want to distract myself. I want to drink. I want to do drugs. I want to do whatever I can so I can stop the chatter in my brain, that I can stop thinking about all the things that I'm anxious about, all the reasons that I'm worried about. And so that happens when you're not taking care of yourself. That happens when your symptoms are exacerbated, when your symptoms are debilitated, when your symptoms are out of control. That's when that should be a clue to you that something is not right. It's almost like it's a fire alarm inside your body saying there's something wrong and you need to do something about it. And the solution isn't to numb yourself. The solution isn't to just stuff all these feelings or run away from the feelings. The solution is to actually sit and listen and see, what is it that I need? Why am I getting triggered? Why am I so reactive? Why am I so angry? Why am I taking things personally? Why am I being so bothered by every little thing? Why am I worrying about every little thing in my life? And so when you are obviously in a state of crisis, you're not going to want to sit and do all that. So what I would suggest is to calm your over anxious brain, calm your central nervous system, because anxiety at the root, at the core, is fear. And fear, there's nothing wrong with fear either. Fear serves a purpose as well, but it's subconscious programming that's triggering that fear. And so when you can calm that fear down, when you can calm your system down, if you don't know how to do any of that, at the bare minimum, if you can just calm your system down, if you can breathe, if you can journal, get rid of a lot of the anxious feelings, if you can take care of yourself, if you can just sleep, get some really good night's sleep, like several nights in a row, not just one night and think the next day you're going to be fine. It's going to take a while for you to train your body and train your brain so that you can be aligned with the rising and the setting of the sun. But when you do that, when you focus on prioritizing your mental health, when you focus on taking care of yourself, then you can feel better. Then you will feel less reactive. And when you're calm, think about the last time you were in a panic, or you were excessively worrying, but then everything turned out to be okay. And then you were calmer. You were thinking more rational, right? Like you're just like, why was I so worried? That was so ridiculous. I couldn't even control my breathing. I was like, I was panicking. I thought I was having a heart attack. But now I know that there was nothing wrong. And I know that that wasn't going to hurt me. But at that moment, I couldn't stop it. And that happens because you're getting tunnel vision and you're seeing things in a tunnel where you're not seeing the whole picture. And so you're very reactive. But when you're in a state of calm and you're managing your stress and you're staying in a state of being open to finding solutions. So when we're getting tunnel vision, we're only seeing it through this little lens, right? But when we expand our vision and we can see a bigger picture, then we can find a solution better. But we're not going to be doing that when we're in a state of panic, or we're in a crisis, or feeling debilitated by our symptoms of anxiety. So it's the same thing with training that horse. You're not going to be able to train that horse in the minute that it's kicking down the doors and kicking people off of them. First, you have to calm that horse, create an environment where the horse feels safe. And then you can start introducing techniques and strategies to help it learn new skills, new ways of communicating, new ways of expressing itself, and learn new tricks. The same thing with us. When we're in a state of calm, we're able to be more receptive. We're able to receive new information. We're able to think outside the box. We're also able to get slowly outside of our comfort zone and try different things. So getting a good night's sleep is the bare minimum you can do. And so many people are sleep deprived right now. And so they're going to bed late, too late, actually. And if you're going to bed after 11, you're sleep deprived because you're not getting that deep rest and relaxation that you need. You're depriving yourself of that deep rest that you can get. And then if you're doom scrolling right before you go to bed, you're going to be tossing and turning initially. So what happens for a lot of people is their TV is on, their phone is in their hands, they're constantly exposed to blue lights, all the lights are on, and then they expect that the minute they turn off the lights and they're ready to go hit the pillow, that they're going to fall asleep. Well, that's not going to happen because it takes a while for your brain with the darkness to create that melatonin and increase that melatonin. And once your melatonin is at its peak, then you can go into that deep state of sleep. But what we've done with all the artificial lights is we have trained our brain to be awake. And so when we have a lot of light, that's why so many experts are recommending just getting off all electronics at least an hour to an hour and a half before bed. And you can do other things that don't involve electronics. You can read an actual physical book. You can read magazines. You can spend time with your partner, with your children, with your pets. You can do some yoga exercises, do some relaxation meditation. There are so many other things you can do besides scrolling on your phone. But once you can train your body to get that deep rest, then you can feel less reactive the next day. Then you can slowly learn new strategies, new techniques, be more open to maybe journaling or eating better or taking the right supplements or doing some more meditation and relaxation exercises. But ultimately, once you're calm enough, you can get to a level where you can actually get to the root of your anxiety and process those deep, unprocessed emotions. You can process the repressed emotions, the ones that you didn't want to deal with. You wanted to just keep shoving deep down and not talk about or not think about because maybe they were traumatic. There were traumatic experiences from your past. But once you're calm enough, you're in a state that you're like, okay, I think I can handle this. I think I can write about this, or I think I can talk to somebody about this. I think I can find ways to process these emotions so that they're no longer staying alive inside of me, live with all the charge that they come with. And once you get it out of you, then you feel more relaxed. You feel less uptight and less likely to be more reactive and more emotional. You'll be more emotionally stable, actually, once you process these deep emotions. But you have to be in a mental state to be able to face those dark issues. But the question came up is, who would I be without anxiety? I've talked about anxiety being a gift. And although anxiety created a lot of problems for me when I was younger, I was debilitatingly shy. I had a really hard time, like putting myself out there for job interviews, for putting myself out there for positions that I wanted because I didn't think I could do it. There's a lot of chatter, negative self-talk in my head, poor mindset. I didn't have the skills. And so, but I didn't know that I had anxiety. If I knew that I had anxiety, I could have seen the positive side of it, because people that are anxious, people that are driven by anxiety, when you know how to make it work for you, it can be wonderful. But when you don't, it can cause a lot of stress. It can cause a lot of sleepless nights. It can cause a lot of sadness, depression, and just all the negative self stuff that can happen. But people with anxiety, if they know how to channel that anxiety, that drive, I don't think, as achievement oriented if I wasn't anxious. I wouldn't be as driven if I wasn't anxious. I wouldn't be as detail oriented if I didn't have anxiety. I wouldn't be as conscientious and caring about people if I didn't have anxiety, because I knew how it felt to be so shy and so scared all the time. I try to be more compassionate to other people. So I see anxiety as a blessing now. I do see it. I mean, I see the gifts of it. I see how hard I work. I see how disciplined I am. And it's all because I'm driven. I'm turning that anxiety, I'm turning that fear, I'm turning all of that into fuel to actually accomplish more and be more productive, because now I know how to make all that work for me. But when it's outside of my control and I'm being bullied by it and I'm constantly being controlled by it, then I'm scared. I'm constantly being reactive to whatever it's telling me. But now when my little guy decides to, and this is my little guy, I always have him with me. And that's what the guy was talking about. He's externalized it. Like, he talks to something outside of himself and says, that's not me, that's my anxiety, or that's just the OCD talking. So it's not something that's a character flaw for you. This is something that you can name this guy. You can name him Fred. You can name him whatever you want, but you can tell him, that's not true. What you're telling me is not true. I can do it. Let me try it at least. Like if this was a little toddler and he was freaking out, I know you would talk nicely to him and calm him down and be like, no, that's not you. Look at this. Look, it's totally safe. Eat it. Look, put your foot on it. Stand over here. Do this, do that. It's okay. We do that because we intuitively know that when a child is scared, we stay calm and we calm them down. But when we get scared, when we get worried because this guy's freaking out, we freak out with him. So calming him down, and then he wants to serve. When you make your anxiety your master, then you are debilitated by it. But he is the best servant. He will do whatever you ask him to do if you know how to train him, just like that horse would. And so that's what I want you to look at anxiety in a positive light instead of a negative one, because I know it's so easy to hate different things. Like we hate our bodies because it's gained weight. We hate our hair because it's not doing what it's supposed to. We hate our whatever. We're constantly hating on ourselves because we've learned that it's a lot easier to express ourselves in anger than with kindness. And so think about it even in our relationships. It's a lot easier to express our anger and rage at somebody than to express our fondness and our care with people that we care about, because that makes us vulnerable. But anger makes us feel like we have a protective barrier against us or around us so that we're protected to say whatever we want because we're in a defensive mode. And so anxiety can feel that way if we know what to do with it. Now, I have a weekly class that I'm talking about anxiety and how you can improve anxiety or take care of anxiety. So if you're interested in joining me, and you can sign up for it and join me, and then ask any questions you have, because at the end of that training, I also open it up so I can answer any questions you might have, because it's a lot easier for me to help you once you're in my circle and you have questions and you get stuck in a certain situation. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about how anxiety can be a blessing. It can be a gift if you know what to do with it. And I hope that you start looking at whatever issues that you're struggling with and seeing, okay, how can this serve me? What is my body trying to tell me? What have I been trying to avoid? Why am I avoiding it? And do I need to talk to a therapist about this? Do I actually need help to process this information? And so if you do need that, if you do need somebody to help to be that objective person explaining things to you, then you should reach out to somebody that specializes in anxiety-based disorders to kind of help you understand what's going on. And another thing I wanted to mention before I go is you don't have to be diagnosed with anxiety in order to actually struggle with anxiety, because not a lot of people get diagnosed when they're like in the middle range of the spectrum. It's only when you're on the extreme end that you're having panic attacks, that life is becoming debilitating, you can't really function, that you might get that diagnosis. But for most people that are somewhere in the middle, like I was, it can take up to 5 to 10 years to get an accurate diagnosis of anxiety. So just because you're not diagnosed with it, like I was never diagnosed with anxiety, and I went to therapy for almost a year, 50 sessions that I had to do before I graduated my program. And the therapist never identified anxiety. They said it was everything else. I was under stress. I was angry. I had whatever. And they never said this is anxiety that you're dealing with. It was only later that I made the connection of my symptoms to anxiety, despite being a clinical psychologist, despite studying psychology. So unless you're actually experiencing anxiety like I have, and I've witnessed it in family members, it's very difficult to identify it by somebody that's just studying it from a definition in a book or a clinical setting. So just because, like I said, just because you haven't been diagnosed by your therapist doesn't mean you might not be struggling with anxiety. And that's what I try to teach people, like all the different symptoms that I share about myself. People might be like, oh, I didn't know that was anxiety, because I didn't know that was anxiety. That's what I want you to take away from this, is to start exploring. And I don't even care about the label of anxiety. I just want you to understand what the symptoms and the patterns look like so you can intervene appropriately. I hope that makes sense. So if you have any questions, please go to transforminganxiety.com/podcast and be sure to add your questions there. Or you can reach out to me on social media. I can be found at Dr. Nafisa Sekandari on Instagram. I'm at Dr. Sekandari on Facebook. And I'm a Dr. Nafisa Sekandari on YouTube. So reach out to me, ask your questions. I'd be happy to help in any way I can. Okay, until next time.